Matt Hancock, good morning.
Good morning.
Do you want to answer that question that he posed there? If no deal, if you cannot reach a deal, then it's going to be no deal, isn't it? Has to be. What else?
Well, there is no alternative to leaving with a deal.
There is. There's leaving without a deal.
No, there is no alternative because Parliament will not allow a no-deal Brexit to happen.
So therefore there'll be a general election.
Well, I don't want to see a general election.
But there would be.
I think that having a general election before we'd delivered Brexit would be a catastrophe. It's certainly be a catastrophe for my party, and I think it'd be extremely damaging for the country. I'm confident of being able to deliver a deal on the 31st of October, and I'll tell you why, John. Because I've set out a Brexit delivery plan in detail, unlike some of the other candidates. In fact, unlike most of the other candidates, I've set out in detail what I'd do. And this is a deal that can both pass the House of Commons and is acceptable and negotiable with the European Union. And there's a reason for that. Because ultimately, this debate too often gets dragged into the weeds of the vehicle of our exit and isn't enough about the long-term future relationship that we want to have. And by setting that out as a free trade agreement, a comprehensive free trade agreement, including on having agreements on, for instance, security, on data transfer, instead of being a customs-type relationship and negotiating with the EU an endpoint, a time limit on the backstop, which is negotiable, and we know that it is.
Even though Brussels have said it isn't.
No.
There we go.
No, they haven't.
All right.
They have said that they are open to changes to the political declaration.
They are not open to changes
to the withdrawal agreement. So I would add the time limit to it. After all, their lawyers say that the backstop has to be temporary, and my proposal is to put a figure on that.
Right.
And that way, we can get a deal that can both be delivered through the House of Commons and can be delivered through the European Union.
Forgive me if this sounds just a wee bit cynical, but if you've got all the answers, as you claim, why aren't other people saying, yeah, right?
Well, I have been struck.
Unless you assume that everybody else is kind of doesn't care about the future of this country and is prepared not just to jeopardise the Tory government, but to jeopardise the economic future of this country.
I've been struck by how some of the candidates who have put some detail on, like Michael Gove, for instance, have essentially put forward proposals that are remarkably similar to the one that I've set out. Nobody's put out...
So row in with Michael Gove then? Get together with Michael Gove?
No, on the contrary, it's the other way around.
He should get with you.
I've put my proposals out and I hope that we can build a consensus around them. Now, there's others...
So before you move on, just on that particular point, that specific point, are people coming to you then, are other Tory MPs coming to you and saying, you know what, Matt, we like that. Well, you've got our support.
I'm getting growing support, yes.
From?
And so, for instance, David Lidington, the effective Deputy Prime Minister, he is an expert in European matters. He was the Europe Minister for 5 years, and having seen my plan, he's come on board because he thinks it is the best deliverable plan to get us out of the European Union. And
anybody else?
I heard in the previous broadcast that children were writing about the cat who solved Brexit. We need to solve Brexit, and we cannot do it by threatening a no deal in a way that implies that therefore the European Union will give us something different. The thing is, they know that the House of Commons will stop a no deal Brexit. So it's an empty threat. And we've heard from all sorts of people in the House of Commons, including the Speaker, saying no deal isn't going to happen. And do you know what? You know why we know it's an empty threat? Because ahead of the 29th of March.
All right. House of Commons you've made that point that the House of Commons will not agree to a no deal, and therefore, as you've accepted as well, in that event, if it were to get there, then there would have to be a general election.
Well, I don't want to.
No, indeed, but that is it. So the second question has to be: how long would it take? Let's assume that your deal is your suggestion is viable. Mm-hmm. How long would it take to persuade Parliament that it is viable, because they remain unpersuaded so far, and more to the point, how long would it take Brussels? In other words, we're meant to be out on October the 31st.
Yes.
Clearly, we could not conceivably be out on October the 31st with the sort of deal that you're proposing, rewriting the backstop, and so on and so on. Clearly, that couldn't happen, right? You'd agree with that?
It's eminently deliverable by the 31st of October.
Really?
Let me give you the timetables. Firstly, there is going to be a new Prime Minister before the end of July, and that Prime Minister is likely to be tested in the
And then everyone goes on holiday.
Immediately. And I would propose...
They're all on holiday. Everybody's on holiday. Westminster and Brussels.
Well, it's quite hard to set out a timeline, John, if you get interrupted after you've put in the first point in that timeline.
Well, I was only offering you the thought that they are all going on holiday.
It's all right. Your job is to interrupt. My job is to explain what I propose
the objections that are obvious.
So, let me carry on. The new Prime Minister is in place by the 22nd of July. As Prime Minister, I would propose to put my plan, which I've already published, to the House of Commons in principle immediately, and therefore show the European Union that this plan is deliverable through the House of Commons. That's in principle. There's a whole load of legislation that needs to follow, but we know that once you have a majority in the House of Commons, things can move quickly. After all, the legislation to stop no deal last time went through in a week. Then I would negotiate with the European Union to get the time limit on the backstop. This isn't about reopening the whole withdrawal agreement. It's about putting a time limit on the backstop.
Well,
the European
Union, I have to interrupt
the
you at that
European
point.
Union have the opportunity on the 16th of October at the European Council to agree to that addendum. It isn't reopening. It is simply turning the temporary nature into a stated
Right, let me try to ask a question of you at that particular point, because Brussels has made it abundantly clear that there is not going to be a time limit on the backstop. That is an essential part of the withdrawal agreement. They have not budged an inch, and they say over and over again they are not going to budge an inch.
Not true. They've said that they are open to changes to the political declaration, which is about the future
not the withdrawal agreement.
And they nearly proposed a time limit on the backstop before, but they didn't think that the Prime Minister, Theresa May, would be able to get it through the House of Commons. And this is why it's important to show that you can get it through the House of Commons in principle, and therefore open up the European Union to turning their legal position is that the backstop has to be temporary. What I am requesting of them is that they turn that into a long stop, and that is deliverable. And do you know why? The other reason, go to motive. How do you successfully negotiate? You successfully negotiate by understanding the motives on the other side. And on the other side, the motivation for us to leave by the 31st of October so that Brexit doesn't, in their view, the negotiations over Brexit don't cast over into their new commission, that incentive is strong. Look,
you could equally argue the opposite from that, couldn't you? You could equally say that they've been firm so far. They have said over and over again, the present regime, that is, has said over and over again, we're not going to go any further, we've done the deal, and that's it as far as we are concerned. You could equally argue that in the last remaining weeks of their time in office, they're not going to be the people who said, oh, all right, you can have what you want then.
No, on the contrary, they want to deliver Brexit. And, John, it's partly about how you negotiate. You know, as the news demonstrates today, that I've successfully concluded the negotiations on the junior doctor's contract, which has been outstanding for several years. How you negotiate is by understanding where the other side are coming from, as well as understanding the strengths of your own position. And the strength of my position will be the ability to show that the House of Commons, in principle, backs this new arrangement, and then go to the EU and understanding that they want us out by the 31st.
Do you not even recognise the possibility, no more than that you couldn't do it by October the 31st? Are you completely closed to that idea?
Well, I'm not running in this race to fail. I'm running to succeed.
So the answer to my question is?
So, of course, it is vital to deliver Brexit on a deal, and I want to do that by the 31st.
You want to do it?
Yes.
My question was, are you open
the problem is
to the possibility that you cannot do that? Because that is the realistic answer, isn't it?
But there's no alternative. There's no alternative. We've been through this over and over again. The alternatives to leaving with a deal are all much, much uglier. So
No, I wasn't asking you about leaving with a deal. I was asking you about postponing October the 31st.
It comes back to how you negotiate. It comes back to how you negotiate.
And not all negotiations are successful, are they?
And I'm not going to go into a negotiation assuming for failure. I'm going to go into a negotiation fighting for success. And this is deliverable. It is doable by the 31st of October.
Why aren't they all flocking to you then? We've got David Lidington.
Yes.
Why aren't they all saying, right, he's cracked it, he's got the answer, let's go with him? Why aren't they doing that? Or are they so cynical that they're only concerned with their own futures?
I'm getting growing support and I'm excited about that.
How many more apart from Lidington?
More to come, to come.
What about Boris Johnson? I mean, because everybody says he's going to win.
Well, the front runner's never won before, has he?
What do you think about the way he's conducting the campaign?
Well, I'm not going to speak ill of any of my colleagues. I know that some of the campaigns have got a bit shirty, but I'm not going to speak ill of any of my colleagues. I like all 9 of the other contenders, and I look forward to working with them in the future.
You reckon he should be doing the sort of thing that you've just spent 10 minutes doing and talking to?
Well,
doing a live broadcast interview?
I certainly think that everybody who puts their name forward to be Prime Minister should be open to scrutiny, should be accountable, should come on the Today programme and on other broadcast programmes. I think that everybody should participate in the proposed TV debates. And I think that we've got to ask the question, why not? So come and have this discussion. Let not just the voters in the Conservative Party, but the population who we serve, the people who we serve, come and be scrutinised, because that is the best way to ensure that we get the best next Prime Minister.
Unless they've got something to hide.
Well, I've got nothing to hide, and that's why I'm here, John.
Matt Hancock, thank you.